everybody. I'm back from a long hiatus from making these videos. It's probably been 4 or 5 years since I've made any. I want to start making some more of them and show you a little bit more on how these calculators work. And originally, after I got my copyright, it took about a year. I just real quick posted some videos of these calculators on YouTube to timestamp them and just get something out there. And now I have also made an interactive website where you can go and you can try these calculators out. And the address for it should be right there on the top of the screen, pipeologyfl.com. And you can go there, and there should be 70s calculators, and just pick the type you need for your layout. And they're real simple to use. You can refer back to some of these YouTube videos if you need to, but after you watch a couple of them, you kind of get the hang of it. They're just real easy. They're real user friendly. That's probably the best feature out of them. Anybody can use them. You don't have to be a seasoned electrician to use these things. They're just ABC elementary to use. Like I say, they came out of a book that you'd be scratching your head to try to figure out what's going on. And if you saw the face of the book that they came out of, then there's like 30 keys sitting there on an interface, and it's like you wouldn't. I didn't even know what to do. So when I started trying to put it into a calculator, I had to design an interface, and when I did, it was so much easier than what I was even thinking. So it's nobody wants to do the hard stuff. They like it easy. So that's what these are. Okay, so if you've watched any of these videos, you know that these four basic inputs here are corresponding to your first pipe here, your starter pipe, if you're doing more than one, but it's your first conduit. And if you're doing parallels, you'll have one or two more here depending on your layout, and that's it. And they're all real easy. Okay, so let's go ahead and say if what's my kick? My last pipe stopped here. I just pull my tape there, measure it to the wall, take off half an OD. That's it. That's all I need to do. Real easy. My radius, I just read that right off my bending shoe. Offset, hey, pick what offset you need. You can measure it, or if you need exact, whatever. Pick you an offset. An angle is almost like a non-issue. It could be just about anything. I just use this 2.6 because it's a 2-to-1, but generally you'll just use the least amount that you can make the pulling easier. You always want the least amount of bend, and so that's it. That's for your conduit. It's done. So before we go ahead with that, let's go ahead and just talk about this B1 kick a little bit. Okay, so what I like about this B1 kick, first thing you notice is these are all the same. If I come down here and I make this first conduit, I put them in, make this first conduit, and make one. If I had 10 conduits, they'd all be the same. So that just makes it real easy. And they're the same length also, so they're perfect for doing parallels. A lot of these bends and stuff, you're getting different size, different lengths. That's why you have all these adjustments are going to be different lengths. So that's going to not accomplish getting a parallel length for you, but at least you might know what the differences are. That's the first thing I like about this bend. The next thing is the spread to choke is a 1-to-1 ratio. That's just easy to keep it in your head. The two things are the same. I got these space and spread here. They're one box. They're the same. So I like that about it. And the spacing in between on this type of bend is tighter than the rest of them. For other type of bends, you're going to have more spacing in between here. So this tighter spacing, is good for running your rack. You're getting into tight spots, or you're going to the top of a can or something. Spaces at a premium. That's a nice little advantage to it. Okay, and programmatically, what I like about this bend is you making this bend. This little choke space spread to choke calculator here is almost like a little aside. These bends ain't in an intertwined kind of pattern thing like a lot of them. I can't go in and change the offset and the angle on these other type of parallels, but I can on this. So I have been able to add extra functionality into this bend that it's kind of like an offset. So, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a little bit of just manipulating around of these and see what happens. And but that's what I like about this bend. I like that a lot because I'm still looking at doing some other things with this right here. And the only real downside to it is as this bend angle increases, this choke will decrease. This is your constraint point here. So this is going to choke up as this bend angle increases. So we'll see that as we go through this. Okay. So, and I'll say this: the first thing, this kick, trying to place this kick, you almost have to be half an expert to do that. That's kind of a tricky thing. It takes some practice. So, but this stuff is always changing. You never, well, you can try to use the same stuff as much as you can, and deal with certain numbers and stuff. But that's not what this calculator is about. This number thing will do whatever you change, it'll fix it. So that's the first thing this calculator will do. And the I guess let's go ahead and just do the let's go ahead and do our first conduit. That's it. Okay. Uh-oh. Okay. I didn't want that. I didn't want a 10. I generally use a 72 on this, on that, so I was saying 72. I just put that in wrong. Okay, let's go ahead and hit it. Okay. So there it is there. Okay. I do this, place a 72 bend at this angle with this offset and this radius. It all comes out to, on this tail stub, I'll have 50.016. This is what I have left flying on my tail. So that's good, as a reference to know what you have. You never know. You could not need that whole 50.016. Maybe you want to cut a piece of it off for you, put it up there and cut it and thread it or something. I don't know. There's always something going on. A million things going on. Okay, so let's go ahead now. Let's look at the pipe here. All my dimensions are on the pipe. Okay, I got these two will add to this. These three will add to that. These four will add to that. So if I want to hook it with tape measure, just hit it with a mark. I don't have to go calculating anything up. It's all already there for me. If I'm doing a center type layout, I'd take this and split that in half and hit it with the center bender. Same thing here, split in half, hit it with the center bender. Okay, so it does that for you already. So, but if I was doing, just hitting marks, generally if I wanted that mark there and that mark there, it only takes two marks to lay out the pipe. That's the start of your bend, and that's the start of your next bend, and that's it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the parallel and look at our spread choke calculator. Okay, so that choke choked up to 1.789 from the 2-inch spread. Okay, so let's go ahead and load this kick back into it. Put this first pipe back in. Alright, and let's go ahead and change this angle to a 45-degree angle and see what happens. Well, we get more angle. What do you get? You get more shrink. Okay, so let's put a 2-inch spread on there and hit it. Okay, so now the pipe shrank up by 1.43. Okay, now the stub's only 48.58. When you add this 1.43 and 48.58, takes you back to the original. Okay, if I did a 45 rack and I stayed, with the rack, I would have a 1.414. It would choke up, so I'd have less than an inch and a half, and the distance between these two bends would zero out. So mathematically, I could do it if I could get the bending equipment to do it. Okay, but if you're going to do a 45-degree angle, you're not going to do it in this pattern. You start changing things, and you're not going to do it to the inside, outside here. You're going to have to move to the inside. You can't put a 45-degree bend behind a 26 degree bend, but you could do it on the inside. Okay, so if you're going to increase the angle, you're going to increase the radius, even the radius. You know, you could have an issue there. You're going to increase the offset. You're going to do that on the to the inside, and that's just a little bit of field experience. I'll tell you that. A little bit of common sense. And anytime you got a negative in this adjustment box, and this is the only place you're going to see a negative, it indicates a shrink. Okay, so if you have a negative anywhere else, you got a problem. You can't do it. Okay, so let's go ahead and increase this angle to a 60. Okay, and now, okay, so now from pipe 2 to pipe 3, we shrank 2.98 inches of an inch. And if we stayed with a 60-degree rack, our choke would now go to a 1. So if you had 2 inches here, you have 1 inch here, center to center. So that's what you have to watch out for, and that could, you know, be a game killer there. Okay, so, and you got a negative value here, so you couldn't even do this bend. So always, you know, watch for anything, you know, in a negative. It's not going to show up here. It's going to show up in here, or maybe on these ends somewhere. Okay, so you just, you know, watch out for that, because, you know, it just tells you your do's and don'ts. You get just too tight a choke, you can change something. Okay, so let's go ahead, and this 0.98 and the 1.43, add to 2.42, and you'd add it to this, and you get back to that original 50. So let's go ahead and reset the calculator and go straight to a 60-degree bend as our second pipe, and see what happens. Okay, so now we've got a 2.422 shrink. Okay, you add that to this is that 0.98 to 1.43. Okay, so everything else is the same. I just want to show you, just doing a little number crunching here. Okay, so let's go back into this original offset. We already got our first pipe loaded in. Let's go ahead and increase our offset, double our offset. Let's see what happens. Okay, now we got a negative 2.36 shrink. Okay, we double the offset, we double the gain. Let's go ahead and reset the calculator, and let's go ahead and double the radius. Okay, double the radius, double the gain. Now we got a 4.37 gain. Okay, so let's go ahead and reset the calculator, and go ahead now, let's go ahead and double the radius. Let's go ahead and double the gain, or the offset. Now what happens? Okay, now it's a positive number. We still have an overall gain. We took the shrink from the gain, 4.37 gain minus the 2.36 shrink, leaves us 2.01 positive value, overall gain. We still have an overall gain. Okay, and let me see. Let's go ahead and reset this back to the original. And okay, we placed a kick at 72 inches. That left us with a tail stub of 5.016. Let's go ahead and double check it. Let's put the 5.016 into the stub. Everything else was the same. And let's go ahead and hit the button. Okay, so now we got an exact 72 tail stub left over. Okay, so they're just running the opposite directions, but they're basically the same thing. You'll have the same thing on the conduits. They're just flopping out, but these adders are adding up different because we're just running from different directions, but they're still the same thing. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do on this video, and go ahead and try that website. It might help you save some time, material, and labor, and that's it. So thanks for watching, and hope to see you on the next one.